the great swordsman of Marvel. Hey! Look who's back for more adventures. We love having you here to continue this story that keeps us all awake. Important note, all of this is pure fiction, so don't try any techniques you hear here in real life. Your neighbor might call the cops. This amazing novel and all its rights belong to the original author. We're just the ones giving it voice and drama. Are you enjoying the show? Prove it by subscribing to our YouTube channel and leaving that like that motivates us so much. And if you want VIP access to exclusive content, our Patreon is waiting with things you won't find anywhere else. Chapter 376 Healing. Chen Feng's words were also a way of warning him to be careful, as those people were capable of anything. He didn't want to be harmed now, but the man simply smiled at Chen Feng again. He knew perfectly well that they were capable of anything, but he felt he couldn't continue like this. If it could truly help ordinary people, he was willing to try. He smiled at Chen Feng. He had already heard what Chen Feng and the others were saying, so he understood that Chen Feng had come here to clarify his intentions and what he wanted to say. He smiled at Chen Feng and then said, "Since I've already said I'd help you, I've heard what you said. You want to defeat that person, and you have the strength. If you truly have it, I'm willing to help you resolve these matters and defeat them." As he spoke, he looked at Chen Feng. He told Chen Feng this because he was certain Chen Feng needed his help to defeat that person and resolve their remaining issues. Only he knew where those ordinary people were being held. And only he was willing to help him at this time. He didn't dare mention this to the other guards, lest they discover the truth and endanger Chen Feng. So, seeing Chen Feng's thoughts, Chen Feng smiled. He knew this person was willing to help, but he needed to understand something else. Was he truly willing to help, or was he using them to get what he wanted? If he helped that person defeat them, he could have anything he desired. Watching this person descend the mountain, he wondered if he was truly willing to help them. He dared not blindly trust him at this moment. Chen Feng looked at the guard. He was happy that the guard was willing to help them at this time, but what if he left and immediately did something else? What if he took these people to that person and threatened them again? He looked at the guard again. Actually, he didn't want to doubt the man at this moment, but he had to find out the truth. If the guard was lying to him, Chen Feng would have a way to resolve the matter. He looked at the man again and smiled at him. "I think you're probably reluctant to believe me right now, aren't you? After all, I'm one of their people, and suddenly coming here to help you isn't something you want to take lightly. I understand that, and I didn't expect you to listen to me at this time." He glanced at Chen Feng and smiled, though unsure if Chen Feng truly believed him, he still spoke his mind. Chen Feng looked at him, also harboring doubts, but didn't say anything more. He smiled again, having been pondering how to resolve the situation, but now, hearing his explanation, he wanted to clarify things. He glanced at him again, then spoke a few more words to the guard. "It seems you are well aware of these matters, and I certainly cannot trust you at this moment. Of course, I am very grateful for your willingness to help me, but I cannot believe you and your men will all be in danger just because of what you said." He glanced at him, giving him a slightly embarrassed smile. The guard didn't seem angry. He knew perfectly well that Chen Feng wouldn't believe him so easily when he told them these things. So he continued, "Of course I understand this perfectly well. From the moment I came here to tell you these things, I knew you wouldn't trust me so easily, but I still want to help you at this time. As for why, I think you'd be willing to listen to me now." As he said this, he looked at Chen Feng. He could tell that Chen Feng still trusted them in some matters. Hearing this, he smiled at him, indicating that he could speak frankly about these things. He then moved closer to Chen Feng. He genuinely wanted to help Chen Feng because he truly believed that the people here could help others become stronger. That's why he brought one of his friends here. However, the things that followed were beyond his ability to handle at that time. He looked at Chen Feng again. He was willing to help Chen Feng because he didn't want those people doing these things, and he really hated those who did such things, as well as the other advisors here. That's why he was willing to help her choose. When Wang Zai came, he was also willing to leave her healing items. He even secretly let Lu Tai's friend out at that time, but he didn't expect him to be found again and brought back from that place. Then some other things happened, but there were no other dangers yet. However, he needed Chen Feng and the others to resolve these issues, so at that moment, he looked at Chen Feng, and regardless of whether Chen Feng believed him or not, he had to help him. He knew very well what Chen Feng was most anxious about, the people they had found back then, and those who had been brought here. Chen Feng feared they would be used to blackmail him. Chapter 377 Guards. Since you're willing to tell me these things, then of course you can say them now. I also felt that you might not want to tell me these things, because these things might not be something you'd be happy about. If you don't want to tell me, that's fine, and I can still believe you at this time. Chen Feng said this with absolute helplessness. Of course, he wanted to believe this person at this time, but there was a high possibility that something even more dangerous would happen next. He didn't want anyone else to encounter danger at this time, so he had to find out what was going on. He then looked at them and thought about what was happening. In short, this matter was indeed very dangerous, but they could think about it again and how to solve it. So he looked at him and then Yashin said directly to him, "It's not that I don't want to believe you at this time, but because of some other things. After all, so many people were brought here this time. None of them should have encountered danger here. They just wanted to become stronger, but they didn't expect to encounter these things, so I have to be vigilant." When the guard heard this, he smiled at Chen Feng. He understood why Chen Feng was telling him this at this time. He wasn't particularly concerned about the matter itself, although Chen Feng didn't seem to believe him. This actually made him happier. If he went directly to those people, they would all be in danger, which would be a real problem. He glanced at Chen Feng again and smiled, which Chen Feng found strange. The guard seemed angry. The guard wasn't angry at all. He was only there to help Chen Feng. Whether Chen Feng believed him or not, he was willing to help him. Even if the situation was dangerous, they could always find a way to solve it. He looked at Chen Feng again. In any case, only Chen Feng could handle this situation now. At least he hadn't encountered anyone who could defeat that person. However, when that person saw Chen Feng, he could sense that the person seemed hesitant to fight him. So, looking at Chen Feng, he still decided to help him. Chen Feng looked at the man, wanting to understand why he was helping him at this moment. This was what he most wanted to know, as his action seemed rather strange. He hesitated for a moment, looking at the man again, still wanting to understand what was going on. He looked at him, thinking about it, but first smiled before speaking. "What do you want to say now? Just tell me directly. I really want to know why you're willing to help me. Are you really sure I can defeat that person? Are you sure I can help you in this?" Chen Feng looked at him as he spoke, also wanting to understand. The man smiled back at Chen Feng, still willing to trust him. Chen Feng was the strongest person he had encountered. If Chen Feng couldn't solve this, he had no other choice. At least that person didn't dare to fight you when they saw you, which makes me believe that you are the strongest person I have ever met. I have never seen anyone who has ever been afraid of me. I have been here for some time now, and no matter who comes here, they will encounter danger. Hearing this, Chen Feng felt there were things he wanted to know. From what he'd said, it seemed others had come to this place. He looked at the man again, thinking about what he'd just said, and the words of the guards he'd defeated. It seemed others had indeed been here. But where had they taken them? He wanted to find out. So, he smiled at them, then looked at the guard Yishin, still wanting to know, and said, "From what you've said, it seems there were others like us who entered this place, but we haven't seen them here. Could you tell us where they were taken?" They were defeated, but where were they taken afterward? Hearing this, he realized he genuinely wanted to know. The man smiled at Yishin, knowing Chen Feng would bring this up, and was willing to tell him everything. So he looked at Chen Feng. After those people were defeated, they were all taken away by the person you saw back then. But I'm not quite sure where he took them. In short, they must have been injured or killed by that person. He's using them for cultivation. This is what Chen Feng said at that moment. Chen Feng thought about it and realized it was probably as he suspected. However, this person's method of cultivation was indeed quite despicable, and even among cultivators, not many people would be willing to do such a thing. Even among cultivators, not many people would do what he did. That's why he was angry about these things. He looked at them again and thought about it. No matter what, he wanted to find a way to resolve these issues, so he spoke to him directly. "Since that's the case, then I won't say anything more at this time. This matter may indeed be somewhat dangerous, but I didn't mean to bring it up now. Just do as I say. I need you to bring those people to me first." Chen Feng said this directly to the guard at this moment. He genuinely wanted to trust this person now, but even if he was deceived, he still had ways to resolve the matter. The guard was somewhat surprised that he believed him at this moment, looking at the floor. He didn't expect Chen Feng to trust him so easily. He had been quite wary just now, But Chen Feng had just confirmed with his system that this person couldn't possibly lie to him. He didn't know why Chen Feng dared to think this way now. He had just told his system. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 378 Ninja Power. After the system told him these things, Chen Feng had already decided to trust this person at this moment. Only by telling him these things now could he resolve the current situation. As for anything else, that wasn't Chen Feng's concern at this time, it was just something he hadn't told him yet. I have my reasons for trusting you now. You don't need to ask me about these things now. In short, I'm willing to trust you now, but don't try to deceive me about these matters. If you do, I can find a way to resolve it. Hearing this, the person smiled at Chen Feng. He was naturally happy that Chen Feng was willing to trust him at this time. He was even happier that Chen Feng had come here to resolve these matters. Otherwise, with his strength, he could have directly taken Lu Shi and Wang Zai out of this place at this moment. But now they had come here and were going to lead those people out of here. He was genuinely happy about this. In any case, it would reduce the harm to those people. He actually felt that if Chen Feng could resolve that matter, they would all be even happier at this moment. However, Chen Feng's willingness to help them in this matter already made him very happy. How could they possibly ask Chen Feng to do anything else at this time? So, he looked at Chen Feng again, smiled at him, and genuinely felt happy about the matter. Therefore, he didn't say anything more. In short, this matter was now resolved. They would consider other things that needed their vigilance later, and then bring those people here. He believed that with Chen Feng's strength, he could definitely defeat that person. Chen Feng looked at the guard. He was willing to trust him. Since that was the case, they could proceed with their plan. Chen Feng needed to hide the ordinary people who had been brought here, or do something else to prevent them from encountering danger. Of course, Chen Feng also needed to know something else, whether those who had been brought here had been taken elsewhere. Looking at the guard, he felt he could know these things, so he directly asked him. There's something else I need to tell you right now. Have you heard them mention anything else, like what happened to those people brought here before they were brought back, like Wang Zai? He paused, glancing at Chen Feng. Lu Shi, hearing this, looked at Chen Feng, realizing Chen Feng was determined to find out where these people were. Finding them now would be a relief, preventing further danger. Wang Zai, however, remained silent. He looked at Lu Shi, knowing Lu Shi was the most anxious among them, as his friend had been taken away. He then spoke to Lu Shi, don't be upset about this. We'll think of something else. We can definitely resolve this. Just stay here for now. We'll figure out a solution later. When he said this, he looked at Lu Shi. Of course, Lu Shi knew very well that Wang Zai was afraid that he was too anxious at this time. He smiled at him and was still grateful for what Wang Zai had said. In any case, he had helped him at this time. Since that's the case, I won't say anything more at this time. Anyway, I'm very grateful for what you've done for me. I don't have much to say to you right now, so I'll just thank you first. Anyway, these things have already been resolved. I think Chen Feng can definitely handle it. As he said this, he looked at Chen Feng. He really thought Chen Feng was very powerful. He had never met someone as powerful as Chen Feng before. Those people were so strong, yet they weren't afraid. In fact, he could sense that they were afraid of Chen Feng. When Wang Zai heard this, he smiled. He also thought Chen Feng was very powerful, but why did those people need to capture these people to train at this time? What did they want to do at this time? So he looked at Lu Shi. Anyway, he couldn't say anything else to Chen Feng right now, so he spoke to Lu Shi instead. There's something else. Have you thought about why those people captured these ordinary people at this time? If it were ninjas in this society, we could think they wanted to gain our power, but what use are these ordinary people? As he said this, you should look at him. Lu Shi, hearing this, also felt a little strange. Why would they capture ordinary people at this time? Actually, he also wanted to understand these things. He looked at him and thought for a moment before speaking again. I'm not too sure about this matter. Anyway, Chen Feng is already here. We should trust Chen Feng. He can definitely handle these things. As for the others, we won't let them get hurt at this time. Wang Zai smiled when he heard this. He really trusted Chen Feng at this moment. Even if they couldn't be sure if they could win, he was still willing to believe in him. Chen Feng had already explained to the device what he needed to do, and he could go directly to it. However, after the guard went out, he went directly to another person, the one who had come to find Chen Feng but was frightened by him. He told him what Chen Feng had said. The other person was very happy to hear this. After all, they could deal with Chen Feng at this time. Now that this person has told them these things, they know very well how to deal with Chen Feng at this time. He smiled smugly at this moment, and also looked at the guard. No matter what, he still thinks this guard is very capable. He looked at him and then said to him. Chapter 379 Deception. Don't think about these things now. What you've told us has indeed been a great help. As long as we do as you say, we can capture this person. Once we've resolved this matter, you can have anything you want. He smiled at him as he said this. The guard looked at him again. This was indeed the person Chen Feng had trusted. He was the one who had told him this. Sometimes he didn't dare say anything else. This was all he could say to these people. The person who heard this was also very happy. If they followed his advice and captured Chen Feng, they could get many things they wanted. He smiled again. He was very happy and immediately told the person who had gone to find Chen Feng, the cultivator who had created these things. He was happy to hear their words, but seeing the people trapped there, he felt somewhat helpless. He had also gained some power from Wang Zai. Wang Zai, after all, was a ninja, and his power far surpassed that of the people here. It was because of this power that he was now even stronger than before. However, he wondered who Chen Feng was and why he had come here. He also thought about the guard who had told them that Chen Feng had led these people out of this place. He suspected that Chen Feng might possess a system like his, but then remembered that his system hadn't told him this, so he didn't dwell on it. His men looked at him, more interested in understanding how to resolve the situation. They had already encountered these problems, and he needed to know more about them, especially since Chen Feng and his group were powerful individuals. He then continued speaking to his men. You all shouldn't stay here any longer. First, find out what kind of person Chen Feng is and why he's here at this time. This is something you must figure out right now. Also, the municipal committee sent him to see me. As he said this, he looked at his men. When they heard he was going to meet the demonstrator, many of them thought he could get something from him, so they went over to him. He felt that the demonstrator had said something. They've already told me what you told them. I want to know more about how you came up with this idea to make him believe you. I need to understand this, otherwise I won't do what you say. As he said this, he looked at the demonstrator and smiled at him. The demonstrator looked at him, knowing full well that this person wouldn't believe him just because of a few words. In any case, Chen Feng wouldn't really tell him these things. He glanced in that direction again, thinking about how to explain things to them, and there were other things they needed to deal with at this time. He looked at the man, who clearly didn't want to believe him, though he had other options. So, looking at the man, he realized that Chen Feng and the others were still under his control, and he could easily eliminate them. Thinking this, he looked at the man and said, if you don't want to believe me, you can do what you want. Chen Feng and the others are still locked up. You should be able to get rid of them. You just need to attack them. It's just a few people. He smiled as he said this, clearly pleased with himself. The man looked at him, wanting to understand him better, wondering what he was going to say next, why he had gone to find Chen Feng and come here to say these things. Wasn't he afraid the man wouldn't believe him? If he didn't want to believe him and instead thought Shen had sent him here to deceive him, and instead just dealt with him at this moment, why would he have come here to tell him these things? He was looking at them at this moment, and although he didn't say anything more, he genuinely wanted to understand these matters. Moreover, he might need the municipal committee to help him with some other things. If he could do that at this moment, then he saw him again, and while thinking about how to resolve this matter, he directly told him, I can't just believe what you're saying right now, so I need you to tell me some things. I need to understand why you're helping me at this moment, why you're helping me in this matter. As he said this, he looked at him. He didn't believe he genuinely wanted to help him at this moment, it was only because he wanted something in return. He was telling him what Chen Feng and the others had asked him to do, perhaps later. If Chen Feng had deliberately tricked him into coming here, he would have gone to see this person to find out the truth. However, the municipal party secretary also knew very well that he would definitely bring up these matters. To be able to do these things here without being detected, He must have his own strength. At this moment, he smiled at the person again. He clearly knew that the person would suspect him at this time, but he had already figured out how to explain these things. He simply smiled at him again, regardless of whether the person was willing to believe him at this moment. He looked at him again and then spoke. Chapter 380 Impulse. Of course, I want more. There are many things you've done here that have upset me, but I didn't have a high enough position before, so I couldn't hurt them. What if you could give me these things now? He said this, glancing at the man and smiling. The man laughed too, realizing the reason. Although he wasn't sure if the man was telling the truth, his words made him somewhat more willing to believe him. Anyway, nothing else was likely to happen now, he just wanted to make the man happy for the moment. He wasn't truly willing to believe him now, he could send someone to follow him and see what he was doing later. The man just smiled again, not saying anything more, but simply stating that there were some things he needed to understand. He still had some doubts about whether Chen Feng possessed a system. Anyway, he just wanted this person to stay here. If he really helped him deal with Chen Feng at this moment, he could give him anything he wanted. Besides, he didn't want to deal with Yi Shen at this time. The power he sensed Chen Feng possessed back then made him want it very much. After the guard said those words to that person, he hesitated for a while. But thinking about what he had said, he felt that it was indeed possible. If doing so could threaten Chen Feng at this moment, he smiled at the guard, also thinking about why he had told him these things. Of course, he learned about his thoughts from him, but he believed some and disbelieved others. He was willing to believe this person, but because of Chen Feng's strength, he dared not easily believe others because of this matter. What if he and Chen Feng were to lie to him? So he looked at the matter and asked him what he had said at this moment. Don't think about anything else because of this matter. Once I'm sure Chen Feng really wants to do this, of course I can give you whatever you want. Everything else can be done at this moment. I want to capture Chen Feng at this moment. I don't want to get rid of him, I want to capture him at this moment. That's what the man said to him at this moment. He must have his own reasons for doing this. He sensed a powerful force from Chen Feng, and he had always wanted to find powerful ninjas to gain even greater power, but he hadn't done so yet. He could use this method to enhance his power and train, all because he had tricked those who knew nothing about the situation into coming here and then exploited their strength. He hadn't considered what was happening to them at this time. Just stay here for a while, he said. I'll find someone to investigate this matter. Once I've confirmed it, if it's really as you say, I'll give you whatever you want. And after I deal with Chen Feng, I can give you even more. As he said this, he simply looked at him again and smiled. The other man looked at the man again, still unsure of his intentions, and waited for him to hesitate before speaking to his subordinates. I need you to find out some things right now. Who exactly is this Chen Feng, and why is he doing these things? You don't need to say anything else right now. Just find out for me whether he's really willing to tell me these things. The next sentence clearly referred to that part of the body. He wanted to find out from the crowd below whether the guard genuinely wanted to help him, or if he had just explained things to Chen Feng and was now lying to him. He hated being deceived. So if that person was indeed lying, he needed to find a way to resolve the situation. However, for now, he just wanted to see if the person had said anything else. Then he went over to Chen Feng again. He saw Chen Feng standing there. Why did you suddenly come over at this time? Or do you already want to fight me? If so, you might as well just tell me what happened, and I can start fighting right now. You don't need to hesitate about this. As he spoke, he smiled at the man again. In Chen Feng's opinion, this man didn't seem particularly powerful, and he wasn't afraid of him. In fact, Chen Feng would be happy if a fight broke out. The man moved closer to Chen Feng, clearly understanding that Chen Feng looked down on him. His strength was negligible in Chen Feng's eyes. Chen Feng simply smiled at the man and continued, would you like to know what the guard who came to see you said to me? He just came here to see me, and should have just left you, so I think you know who he is. Would you like me to tell you what he said? Upon hearing this, Chen Feng's expression changed slightly, but he remained silent, not wanting the man to reveal his thoughts. However, he sensed that the 24-year-old might have told this man some things. It seems that all those words he said back then were just to deceive him at this moment. He just looked at the person again. Even so, he still had a way to resolve this matter. So he just looked at him and smiled at the person again. No matter how angry he felt at this moment, he just smiled at him and said. Chapter 381 Hidden Purpose. What do you mean by telling me all this now? Anyway, I can resolve these matters right now. No matter what you're thinking, I can handle it. And if you really think you can threaten me with those people and I can't deal with you, don't even think about it. Chen Feng glanced at him as he said this, seemingly unconcerned about the situation. The man smiled back at Chen Feng, knowing full well why Chen Feng was telling him this at this time. However, he didn't believe Chen Feng's words. If he truly didn't care about those people being injured, why would he need to say those things to the guard at this moment, and why would he be the one to learn about these things? So, he simply looked at Chen Feng again and smiled. Chen Feng felt somewhat helpless. He hadn't expected the demonstrator to actually tell this person everything at this time. He was willing to believe him, but seeing these people now, he felt truly helpless because of this situation. The man was looking at Chen Feng at that moment. He had come to talk to Chen Feng, not to fight him. He couldn't possibly defeat him at this time, and if he angered Chen Feng, he would be in more danger. Chen Feng wasn't sure what this man wanted, so he just wanted to clarify things now, as this was crucial. He had made his intentions clear, but the man refused to tell him, so Chen Feng had to think of another way. Just as Chen Feng was about to say something more, the man, still looking at him, smiled smugly. Chen Feng could sense the man's smugness, but he accepted it and said, "I want to talk to you about something. From what the guard told me, I can tell you that you came here to stop me from harming ordinary people. I can promise you that I will stop harming ordinary people." When Chen Feng heard this, he looked at him. Although he didn't say anything else at this moment, he could tell that this person must have some other purpose. Otherwise, he wouldn't have needed to tell him these things. He just smiled at this person and then said to him, "Then why don't you tell me now what your other purpose is? I don't believe you just let those people go at this point. Since you've come to me with these questions, why not tell me what your demands are? What do you want me to do for you if you stop harming ordinary people?" As he said this, he glanced at the man. Although he wasn't sure what the man wanted, his words suggested he had some ulterior motive, otherwise, he wouldn't be saying this now. Therefore, Chen Feng's expression was very serious. The man laughed upon hearing Chen Feng's words. He wasn't happy about Chen Feng's directness. Instead, he thought Chen Feng was very perceptive, able to discern his intentions with just a few words. So, he looked at Chen Feng and said, "You are indeed a very capable person. Even just a few words from you, you can sense that I have other motives. It's true, I can't possibly have planned to capture these people here at this time. Just because you've said a few words, I won't harm them anymore. They can help me cultivate right now." Chen Feng was also very angry at this. Using those people for cultivation at this time, harming them just to make him use them for cultivation, he was furious about this and didn't want to say anything more. He then said, "Then why don't you tell me what other motives you have? Anyway, this isn't the first time you've done these things. Just tell me clearly what you want to do right now, and I won't say anything more. What exactly is your purpose?" Chen Feng really didn't want to talk to this person anymore, he just wanted him to reveal his purpose. The man smiled at Chen Feng. Chen Feng was indeed much more capable than he had thought, but so what? He still wanted to speak to him. "Of course, I have my own reasons for this. I want you to do something for me at this time. I already want you to do some things. Your strength must be very powerful, right? I could sense it when I saw you. You are much stronger than me." Hearing this, Chen Feng noticed the man's displeasure. However, he now understood what the man was thinking. He wanted to use this opportunity for cultivation. Chen Feng smiled at him, and the man sensed Chen Feng's displeasure. It seemed Chen Feng had figured out what he was thinking. So he looked at Chen Feng and smiled again. Although he wasn't sure what Chen Feng was thinking, getting Chen Feng to do these things for him was acceptable. The guard had told him that Chen Feng wanted to help the ordinary people he had harmed. He didn't understand why someone with such power would do this, but if that was truly his intention, he could use it to threaten him. He continued to look at Chen Feng. Since he could threaten Chen Feng at this moment, why should he hesitate over this matter? He just wanted Chen Feng to solve these problems for him. He simply glanced at Chen Feng, smiled, and then said, "It seems you already know what I want you to do at this time." Chapter 382 Ultimate Power. So, how about it? Why don't you try what I said? If you help me cultivate right now, it'll just mean you'll have less power. If you help me cultivate now, I'll let those people go. He looked at Chen Feng, wanting to understand him better and see if he was willing to do as he said. After all, Chen Feng seemed genuinely interested in helping ordinary people, but he didn't understand why. If he could use these people to threaten Chen Feng, why fight him now? He wasn't sure he could win. If Chen Feng simply killed him, he wouldn't be happy. He needed to cultivate here. There were so many people here to help him. If he were in a place like theirs where people truly cultivated, he would be looked down upon and attacked. He didn't want to encounter such things. So, he looked at Chen Feng and smiled, wanting to see if Chen Feng would agree to his request. Chen Feng looked at the man again. It seemed he was determined to use those people to threaten him at this moment. He was also certain that he couldn't let those ordinary people get hurt, which was why he dared to threaten him now. Thinking of this, Chen Feng was definitely angry and was thinking about how to resolve this situation. Chen Feng looked at the man. He didn't expect him to dare to come here and say these things. Although he had previously thought of deceiving him, it was better for him to tell him the truth now and resolve the matter at this time. Regardless of what these people were thinking, he believed he could deal with them at this moment. He looked in the man's direction, smiled at him, and didn't say anything more about it. He simply said, "You come here to say these things to me and ask me to use my own power to help you cultivate. Aren't you being a bit too generous? Besides, you're the only one here. I can easily attack you right now." As he said this, he smiled at the man. The man, upon hearing this, also looked at Chen Feng. He was genuinely unsure whether he should act at this moment, and could only watch him. He seemed hesitant, as he was indeed the only one present. If Chen Feng wanted to attack him, Yi Shen could do it easily. However, remembering what a municipal committee member had told him, he smiled smugly at Chen Feng and then said, "You can't do this now. There are still people locked up here. You don't want those ordinary people to be harmed. If you do this, they will be dealt with. Are you really sure you want to do this now?" He smiled at Chen Feng as he said this. Chen Feng found it interesting. Since this person dared to threaten him at this moment, it seemed someone had indeed told him these things. The guard had indeed told him those things at this time. "I really didn't expect him to tell you all this at this time. I trusted him so much back then, but I didn't expect him to reveal all this now. It seems I really can't trust the people here right now," Chen Feng said, looking at him as if he was genuinely angry about what had happened. The man just looked at Chen Feng and smiled. If he could obtain Chen Feng's power, no one could defeat him now. He understood Chen Feng's intentions perfectly well. He didn't want these ordinary people to be harmed, which was why he could defeat Chen Feng now. So he continued speaking. "I've already told you this. Whether you do as I say or not depends on your own thoughts. If you do as I say, I can let you go now and not do anything else. Do you want to think about it again?" As he said this, he looked at Chen Feng. He had originally wanted Chen Feng's help because of this matter, but Chen Feng just smiled at him. He hadn't wanted to bring this up, but he hadn't expected Chen Feng to dare to say these things to him now. Then Chen Feng moved a little closer to the man. He saw the man retreat in fear and smiled disdainfully. But thinking about it, it was true. What kind of powerful strength could people who cultivated using these methods have? So Chen Feng continued, "It seems you're nothing special. I just moved a little closer to you, and you're already this scared. You still dare to come here and say these things to me. I think you really want this power too much? But why do you want my power now? How are you sure my power can help you cultivate?" When Chen Feng received this message, he looked at the man, determined to ascertain how he had learned of the man's power and how he had determined that the man's power could make him laugh. These were questions Chen Feng needed to understand. The man, however, seemed to think that Chen Feng wouldn't directly tell him what he wanted to know, and that he was now being threatened by Chen Feng. So, he simply looked at Chen Feng, smiled, and then spoke to him. Chapter 383 Protesters. "You just need to tell me now whether you'll agree to what I say. If you don't, I certainly won't say anything else. Anyway, I can't beat you. You can leave this place now with your friends, but I can't be sure about the ordinary people." He said this, glancing at Chen Feng and smiling at him, seemingly assuring him that Chen Feng wouldn't dare harm him at this moment. Chen Feng merely looked at the man. He hadn't expected to be betrayed at this time. He looked at him again, and after the man smiled, Chen Feng considered these things. Judging from the man's expression, he must have realized Chen Feng's abilities and was afraid of harming the ordinary people, so he wouldn't dare attack him now. Chen Feng even smiled at him. He was indeed afraid of harming the ordinary people, but he couldn't agree to this man's request now. He didn't know what the man would do after he lost his power. Only if he resolved the situation himself could this man prevent the ordinary people from being harmed. So Chen Feng looked around again and moved closer to the man. Since these matters needed to be resolved soon anyway, he figured he might as well clarify things now. He simply smiled at them again, without saying anything else. Before he could say anything more, he saw fear in the man's eyes. Chen Feng felt a sense of unease. How could someone like this want to gain his power? Although he didn't say anything directly, he genuinely looked down on him. The man didn't understand Chen Feng's thoughts and just looked at him again. He found Chen Feng's actions strange. He didn't seem to intend to harm him. Just as he was thinking this, Chen Feng spoke directly to him. I hate it when people threaten me. I genuinely don't want ordinary people to be harmed. I came here to clarify this matter. If I can get those ordinary people out of here, that would be the best outcome. Hearing this, the man smiled smugly at him, even though Yi Shen had just said it. He didn't like being threatened, but he felt he could threaten Chen Feng at this moment. After all, these ordinary people were still there because of what the demonstration had told him. If it weren't for his perception, he wouldn't have noticed these things. Even if you're unwilling, what can you do when things happen at this time? You can't attack me now. If I get hurt here, those ordinary people will suffer even more. You need to figure out how to resolve this now. He looked at Chen Feng again, this time truly threatening him. Chen Feng hated being threatened at times like this. It seemed this person still didn't understand the meaning behind his words. Even if he controlled those ordinary people, so what? Chen Feng could resolve this now, and he could use them to threaten him. Even if he could control those ordinary people and use them to threaten Chen Feng was willing to listen to his words. Once he obtained Chen Feng's power, those ordinary people would still suffer. Chen Feng knew this very well. You don't need to say these things to me now. Those ordinary people couldn't possibly fight you at this time. If I handed over my power to you now, and my friends got hurt, how could I believe you would let me go? You should stop thinking about these things. As he said this, he glanced at the man and smiled at him. Regardless of his true thoughts, he wasn't going to agree to these things at this moment. He just looked at him. The man, hearing this, glared angrily at Chen Feng. I advise you to figure out what you're saying right now. This is such a dangerous matter. If these people get hurt, don't come back saying I shouldn't have done it. I've already made this clear to you. As he said this, he looked at Chen Feng, this time truly threatening him. But Chen Feng merely glanced at the man with disdain, wondering what his thoughts were and what they had to do with him. He wasn't going to let this man gain his power at this moment. If he handed over his power now, he couldn't be sure what this man would do. He simply looked at him again, gave him a cold smile, and, ignoring what the man might say next, spoke directly. If you want to do what you want now, of course you can. But if you dare harm the people here, I will attack you immediately. Anyway, if I lose my power, others will suffer from your harm. A person like you would do anything for cultivation. As he said this, he looked at them and smiled at the man. The man's expression immediately changed. Indeed, as Chen Feng said, that was exactly what he was thinking. As long as he obtained Chen Feng's power now, he was willing to do anything. All he wanted was to obtain Chen Feng's power at this moment, so he could become stronger. Once he was stronger, when he wanted to cultivate again, he wouldn't just have to find ordinary people anymore, he could even find some weaker ninjas. Like Wang Zai. When he captured Wang Zai and discovered he was a ninja, he was genuinely surprised. However, after obtaining some of Wang Zai's power, he realized that using ninjas for cultivation was far better than using ordinary people. At this moment, he looked at Chen Feng, wanting to say something. Chapter 384 Fierce Battle. Don't say anything more now. I'm not handing over my power to you at this moment. Even if you say more, it's useless. In fact, if you say anything more, I'll definitely finish you off right now. Chen Feng said this, his words carrying a threat. The man didn't dare say anything more. Chen Feng's strength was far superior to his. If he angered Chen Feng, he wouldn't be able to defeat him. He then left, unwilling to fight Chen Feng. Besides, Chen Feng wouldn't dare attack him because of the ordinary people present. If he angered Chen Feng, things wouldn't be as he imagined. He had no choice but to leave. However, he still wanted to obtain Chen Feng's power. He could sense just how powerful Chen Feng was. If he could obtain his power now, no one could harm him, and he could use the ninjas to train. Moreover, when he cultivates, his strength can be transferred to other places. However, this is only the beginning of his cultivation. Of course, other matters are not something he needs to think about at this time. As long as he can cultivate and become stronger, he is willing to do anything. Chen Feng looked at the people here at this moment. He also found it strange that this person dared to come here and say these things to him. But seeing him like this, he realized that he was just trying to threaten him. However, he did not want to be threatened by these people at this time, and he did not want others to be in danger. So he just looked at him again, and suddenly smiled at him. Although he did not know what he was thinking, there were some things he had to figure out at this time. He looked at the person again, and then, thinking of what the guard had said, he continued to speak directly to him. I am not sure what you want to say at this time, but I cannot let you hurt him at this time. No matter what you say now, I will not allow you to hurt him. So please figure out what you are doing at this time. As he said this, he looked at him, and the other person also felt a little strange. Why didn't Chen Feng agree to this matter directly at this moment? After all, so many ordinary people here were in his hands. Ye Shen just smiled at him again. Lu Shi was already very angry when he heard this. He originally just thought this person was annoying when he was cultivating, but he still dared to fight the martial gout at this time. He didn't expect him to threaten Chen Feng like this. He really thought what this person said was ridiculous. He just looked at him again. What makes you think Chen Feng should help you at this time? It's his business if he wants to help those people at this time, but why should he put himself in such danger for those people? Who knows what kind of things you will do in the future? When he said this, he looked at the person and said this. Ye Shen just smiled when he heard this. It seems that Lu Shi understands these things. So he looked at the person. He probably doesn't know that he can cultivate, nor does he know that he also has a system. So Chen Feng told him this at this time. You've heard what he's saying to me now. I don't mean anything by it, but are you sure you want to fight me at this time? I'm not that weak. If I wanted to finish you off right now, it wouldn't be impossible. You'd better figure these things out now. He smiled at the man as he said this, and the man, hearing Chen Feng's words, looked at him. He was somewhat surprised by the situation, not expecting Ye Shen to be so unconcerned. He smiled back at Chen Feng and said, it's fine if you don't want to. Of course, you can leave with your friends right now. As for what happens to those ordinary people, that's my business. They chose to come here, and what can you do about it? He glanced at Chen Feng and smiled back. Chen Feng knew this man was certain he didn't want to hurt him, or that he wouldn't dare to. He simply looked at him again and smiled. Although he didn't understand what the man wanted to say, since he had spoken, Chen Feng remained polite and moved closer to him. He still had some matters to attend to. Chen Feng glanced at the man, seemingly certain he wouldn't dare harm him at this moment. But Chen Feng didn't see it that way. He had no intention of letting the man get away with anything that might harm an ordinary person. He simply looked at the man again and suddenly smiled. Aren't you afraid right now? Of course, that's fine, since I'm just saying this to you. If you're not afraid, we can't say anything else. But if you really do something now, or do anything that angers me, don't blame me for taking care of you. His tone was threatening. He clearly didn't want to be threatened, regardless of what the man said. And even if the man were capable of harming him, he didn't think he could defeat him at this moment. That person was well aware of why Chen Feng was telling him these things at this time. It was because his own strength was not as great as Chen Feng's, and Chen Feng was also very clear about this matter. He had only looked at Chen Feng, but he still wanted to obtain Chen Feng's power, and he was unwilling to release those people at this moment. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 385: A Nightmare for Ordinary People. Why would I do something like this at this time? It's just a bit of danger, and I have nothing to say about it now. Besides, what can someone like you possibly do at this point? You're just a little stronger than me, and I have so many people here at my mercy. What can you possibly do? He glanced at Chen Feng, who smiled smugly. Chen Feng simply looked at him. He didn't want to say anything more, but he genuinely disliked the way the man was talking. Of course, he didn't say anything else at this moment, just looked at him again. He was destined to have a battle with this man, and it was a battle he truly had to have. The system had said that if he could obtain someone else's system at this time, it would allow him to upgrade it, bringing him more benefits. Chen Feng had to do it now. Actually, before meeting this person, it wasn't necessary to do this. After all, he could have resolved some issues here as well. However, after witnessing the harm this person had done to ordinary people, Chen Feng was certain he had to eliminate him now. No matter what, he had to get rid of him directly. He glanced at him but said nothing more. The other person could sense that Chen Feng's gaze was strange. It seemed he felt more than just dislike, as if he was thinking about something else. He just looked at Chen Feng again, wondering what was going on and what Chen Feng was planning. Chen Feng smiled at him again. These things didn't seem too dangerous to him, but there were many things he needed to consider. Perhaps he had only glanced at the person again, and the person smiled at him, but he hadn't said anything more. He simply spoke directly to him at that moment. I have something else to tell you right now. You don't need to know what it is now. Just do as I say, or I'll deal with you. From what you've said, it seems you really want my power, but I can't give it to you. The man looked at Chen Feng angrily. He had already said he wouldn't give him his power now, yet he was still being asked to do as he said. Did he really think Chen Feng was easy to bully? Having witnessed Chen Feng's actions, he was truly furious. If you don't want to do as I say, that's fine too, but then I can destroy this place right now. You should know I can do it, and I have the power. If you don't believe me, you can try it now. He glanced at Chen Feng as he said this, but didn't say anything more. They all needed to think about what this man was doing and how to resolve it. Perhaps he just wanted to see if Chen Feng would say anything more at this moment. Then he prepared to head in another direction. He stopped to check on Wang Zai, who was no longer injured as before. He smiled at the man, intending to help him resolve the Wang Zai issue, as he had gained some strength because of Wang Zai. Even without being told, Chen Feng knew this man had been using Wang Zai for cultivation, otherwise, Wang Zai wouldn't have been injured. He simply smiled at the man, saying nothing more, but his gaze held a threatening undertone. Why are you looking at me like that? What does it matter to me that he's injured? It's his own fault for coming here at this time. If he hadn't come here, he wouldn't have encountered this situation. Besides, he lost to me because he wasn't strong enough. Why are you looking at me like that? He looked at Chen Feng, initially finding Chen Feng's expression strange. However, Yi simply smiled at the man again, and his words, once he understood, truly seemed to be a way to resolve the situation. Originally, he was unwilling to do this at this time. The happiest person now was probably Chen Feng's system. He had been wondering how Yi Shen would resolve these matters, since he wouldn't have been harmed if he hadn't obtained someone else's system. However, he hadn't expected Chen Feng to encounter such a person. He didn't even need to talk to Chen Feng. Chen Feng, unwilling to let this person go, smiled with some satisfaction. Anyway, this matter could be resolved now. Chen Feng simply looked at the system. Since you say that powerful people can do whatever they want, why are you so afraid when I'm dealing with you? I won't say anything more. Anyway, you harmed my friend, so don't blame me for being impolite. Chen Feng said this while looking at the system, and he smiled back. He was already angry about these things, and this person dared to say such things to him. Of course, he wasn't willing to tolerate it any longer. Hearing this, the man looked at Yi Shen with some fear. If it were anyone else, he wouldn't be worried, but Chen Feng's strength was far greater than his own. How could he dare say anything more at this moment? He knew perfectly well that Chen Feng could easily defeat him. Moreover, since he dared to speak like this, it was because Chen Feng clearly understood his strength. He looked at Chen Feng, but then thought of the ordinary people he had brought with him, so he just smiled dismissively and said, "You have no idea where I took those ordinary people. They weren't locked up with these people at this time. From the moment I learned about the injured man's strength, I brought them out from that place. You have no way of finding them." Chapter 386 Power System. As he spoke, he glanced at Chen Feng, a hint of smug satisfaction in his certainty that Chen Feng had harmed him. He smiled at Chen Feng, unconcerned about what Chen Feng was thinking. His friends were with him, imprisoned, so what could Chen Feng possibly do? He was simply pleased to see him, figuring Chen Feng wouldn't dare harm him now. Chen Feng, however, smiled again and suddenly attacked. Before the man could understand what was happening, something beside him broke. He looked over and saw Chen Feng had done it. He stared at Chen Feng, understanding his intentions. He knew Chen Feng wouldn't let him off easily if he dared to say anything more, but he refused to obey Chen Feng. He simply glanced at Yi Shen. Chen Feng then looked at them, and at the man, He was starting to feel afraid. However, after he walked towards Wang Zai, the man turned and left, seemingly not wanting to say anything more to Chen Feng. Chen Feng glanced at him again. He didn't want to deal with this man anymore, but since he was already there, and he had some things to take care of, he looked in that direction again and then walked away. Don't listen to what he says. He's just trying to threaten you. Don't be afraid. We're not letting you pass. He wants your power, but don't believe him. How could he possibly let these people go after getting power? Lu Shi looked at Chen Feng anxiously, afraid of him because those ordinary people had agreed to his request. He felt this person was only saying these things to trick Chen Feng into giving him his power. Chen Feng smiled at him, clearly aware of the situation. However, Chen Feng knew exactly what he was talking about and didn't want to listen to that person's words. He just smiled again, knowing he couldn't really threaten him at this moment. He glanced at Lu Tai and said directly, "Don't be anxious about these things. I can't agree to him now. My power isn't something he can easily obtain. I know exactly what I'm doing. Although I want to help ordinary people, I can't hand over my power to him right now." As Chen Feng spoke, he looked at Wang Zai, whose injuries had indeed healed. However, Lu Shi was now somewhat angry, remembering the guard who had come to them earlier. They had initially trusted him. "What are you thinking about right now? You seem quite angry. Or is someone making you angry again? Why don't you tell me now, and I'll see if I can help you resolve these issues so you don't have to think about these things that make you angry right now." As Chen Feng spoke, he glanced at Lu Shi, genuinely puzzled. Lu Shi seemed genuinely angry. Lu Shi, hearing this, looked at Chen Feng, remembering the guard Chen Feng had trusted. "I was thinking of that guard who came to find you. He said he couldn't possibly do anything wrong, yet he revealed our plans to those people, leading to your danger. You shouldn't have trusted him then." He smiled at Chen Feng. Chen Feng was stunned, not expecting Lu Shi to be angry about this. Although he didn't say anything else, he was also unhappy about it. He looked at Lu Shi without saying anything more, but he understood why Lu Shi was angry, because of what that person had done. Chen Feng wasn't too bothered, because even if that person wasn't willing to help him, he could still resolve the situation. But Lu Shi saw it differently. That person had come to them himself, saying he would never betray them at this time, yet he had actually done so. This had already made Lu Shi very angry. So he looked at Chen Feng, who simply smiled at him and said, "Since he's doing this now, we have no other choice. Why are you angry about this? Even if you're angry now, it's impossible to resolve these things at this time. So don't think about these things anymore. Even if he's already told them about these things, I can still handle it." He looked at him and smiled, but Lu Shi was still angry because of these things, and Chen Feng knew that was just how he was. Even if he said something else, Lu Shi wouldn't listen. He just smiled at him again and then looked at Xia Wangxi, who was still injured and needed to understand the situation. He needed to find out the extent of Wang Zai's injuries. After all, that person had used him for cultivation, and he also wanted to understand some things about that person's cultivation, specifically how he obtained their power. So, he looked at Wang Zai and continued what he had been telling him. "He used you for cultivation back then, so your power must have become his. Did you find out how he obtained that power from you? I don't mean anything by it, but I still want to know about this from you. Could you tell me about these things?" Chapter 387 Hesitation? As he spoke, he glanced at Wang Zai, but he also knew that using Wang Zai for cultivation wouldn't be something Wang Zai would be happy about. He figured if Wang Zai didn't want to, it wouldn't matter. These things certainly wouldn't be pleasant for Wang Zai. Wang Zai, upon hearing this, looked at Chen Feng. He knew Chen Feng must have some way to solve these problems, but he wasn't telling them, meaning he wanted to solve them himself. He just looked at Chen Feng again, but didn't say anything more, pondering what Wang Zai had learned back then. Chen Feng understood. He was thinking about how that person cultivated. Wang Zai didn't say anything more. It was up to him to decide whether to speak or not. Chen Feng just smiled at him and then looked at Lu Shi. He was still angry about these things, so Chen Feng thought about it a little more. He didn't know why he was thinking about these things, but seeing how angry he was now, he looked at him helplessly and smiled at him. He had to understand these things. Since he had already started cultivating, he would definitely encounter more people and many people would be doing these things. He couldn't let himself get so angry over these things, as it might affect his cultivation. So, he looked at Lu Shi and said, "Don't think about these things now. Although that person did do these things, it was what he wanted to do. As for what he will encounter next, whether it's dangerous or not, it has nothing to do with us. In short, I can't help him when we meet him. Chen Feng was always like this. If that person hadn't done such a thing, even if he encountered danger, Chen Feng would have tried to help him. But since he had already betrayed him, there was nothing more to say to him now. But he came to you himself back then. He came to you himself saying he wanted to help you do this. And if it weren't for him, how could we have encountered these things at this time? If it weren't for him, how could that person have discovered our purpose? Chen Feng smiled at Lu Shi again when he heard this. Actually, he felt strange when that person came to him. Although he did leave something to heal Wang Zai at that time, he didn't seem to have any intention of helping Wang Zai at this time. Moreover, he noticed that the person was different from the one they had met before. He felt something was off. Perhaps this person wasn't the one they had met before. Then what were they here for? Just to trick him into revealing his true purpose. Chen Feng was very clear about these things, so he didn't say anything more back then. He understood these things clearly. Now he was here because he could solve these problems. He just smiled again, and he knew very well how to resolve these issues at this time. He glanced in their direction again, looked at the group of people, and seeing that no one was approaching, he smiled at Lu Shi. Just as Lu Shi was about to get anxious, Chen Feng spoke to him directly. Don't get angry about this. I dared to let them approach because I know everything. You don't need to worry. I know that person is going to betray us. I've known this since the beginning. He smiled at Lu Shi as he said this. Lu Shi was stunned. Chen Feng knew that person was going to betray them, so why was he telling him his purpose now? They came here to find that person, so why was he telling him all this now? Lu Shi looked at him, surprised and confused by Chen Feng's words. After hesitating for a while, he finally spoke. If that's the case, then why did you tell him those things back then? Since you've already done this, why tell him these things again? You should at least let me understand these things, and I think you really do want to understand them. After all, what you're doing now is too strange. As he said this, he looked at him, genuinely finding these things very strange and wanting to understand them. However, Chen Feng smiled at them, still unsure of his meaning, and just looked at him again. He just looked at him again and smiled at him. Since he wanted to understand these things, he could tell them now that his original purpose wasn't to take those ordinary people out, but for some other things he needed to resolve at this time. Of course, he couldn't tell them about the system at this time. He did come here for the system, but that couldn't be told to them now. So, at this moment, he just looked at these people, then looked at Lu Shi, and then spoke to him. Even if we take these ordinary people out now, they still have ways to get them to that place and harm them again. So I won't do that now. I need to find that person now so I can deal with him directly. As he said this, he looked at him and smiled again. That was his thought at the moment. Lu Shi was stunned when he heard this. He hadn't expected that this was Chen Feng's purpose, but he felt that this was what someone like Chen Feng would do at this time. Chapter 388 Deadly Danger. He felt that Chen Feng was so powerful, so he must want to do these things at this time. He glanced at Chen Feng again, still somewhat surprised by what he had seen, and then looked at Wang Zai. Wang Zai didn't say anything more when he heard this. Instead, he just smiled. Just as he thought, Chen Feng knew exactly what he was going to do, and that's why he wanted to eliminate them at this time. He knew exactly what he was doing. So he just smiled again. Chen Feng was indeed very capable. He knew his own thoughts. As for that other person, he probably didn't understand why Chen Feng was doing this at this time, let alone that Chen Feng was just trying to eliminate him. But why Chen Feng hadn't said so much earlier, he didn't know these things. Chen Feng looked at the people around him, hesitant because he wasn't sure what was going on. Now that he'd already spoken to Lu Shi, he stopped worrying about it. He understood why Lu Shi was so angry. Lu Shi felt deceived. The person who promised to help them had indeed told them their plans and even threatened him. That's why Lu Shi was so angry. Then Chen Feng explained, actually, I did this to lure that person here. You probably find it strange that I didn't harm him when he arrived. The person here isn't the one we're looking for. He used another method to appear. Lu Shi was stunned, as was Wang Zai. They hadn't expected Chen Feng to say this at this moment, but that person had already appeared. Why was Chen Feng mentioning him? They also found it strange that he wasn't actually here. Chen Feng smiled at them at this moment. He knew they must find this strange. After all, That person's sudden appearance here seemed odd. But only Chen Feng knew the real story. He simply smiled again. I think I should have told you, his cultivation method is different from yours. So he has other ways to get close to this place. And we can't attack him now. Even if we did, it would only make him more vigilant. Chen Feng smiled again, not wanting to rush things. He knew what those people were planning, but he didn't want to discuss it further. He glanced in that direction again. See? He wanted to say something else. So, how are you going to lure that person here? And how are you going to resolve this? He shouldn't be able to come here now. Since he's already sensed your strength, he can't just come here easily. At this moment, Wang Zai looked at Chen Feng and spoke. He wasn't as angry as Lu Tai. Although he was the one injured, he genuinely wanted to help the village resolve these issues by telling Chen Feng what had happened. Chen Feng, of course, understood this and smiled at him. I understand this situation perfectly well. He couldn't have just appeared here at this time. That's precisely why we need to think of another way to lure him out. Only when he arrives can we resolve the situation directly, ensuring his people are no longer in danger. Chen Feng glanced at the people he was dealing with. This was what he needed to do. There were still many ordinary people here, doing nothing, and he didn't want them to be in danger. That's why he explained it to him. Chen Feng hesitated upon hearing this. Since he had already said all this, he wanted to make everything clear to Wang Zai and the others. If he encountered any danger, they could handle it. He looked at them and smiled again. Anyway, these things need to be resolved now. And if that person appears here, he might not attack Chen Feng directly. Instead, he could attack Wang Zai and Lu Shi, whose strength isn't that great. Since I've already told you this, I'll reiterate, if that person appears here and attacks you, hide immediately. I can fight him, but you can't beat him. Lu Tai and the others looked at Chen Feng upon hearing this, genuinely surprised by his words. However, since Chen Feng had already brought it up, they didn't say anything more. He truly wanted to help them and didn't want them to be in danger. They understood this perfectly well. They simply looked at Chen Feng again without saying anything more. Chen Feng looked at them, smiled, and led them in another direction, as he had other matters to attend to. You all stay here for now. If he attacks, I'll stay here. They won't be able to hurt you at this time. What I fear most is that they'll use those ordinary people to threaten me. If that happens, I'll have to fight him, and you might encounter some danger. As he said this, he looked at them, genuinely feeling helpless about the situation. Wang Zai and the others noticed this and looked at Chen Feng. In fact, Chen Feng had already helped them a lot, and they didn't want him to be anxious about this. They just smiled at him again. Since Yi Xian had already thought of these things, they could help him resolve them. In short, they just wanted to prevent Chen Feng from feeling anxious. That was Wang Zai's thought. Chapter 389 Unbelievably shocking. Moreover, Wang Zai's strength would ensure he wouldn't be harmed at this moment. Even if those people wanted to use him to threaten Chen Feng, they'd have to consider whether Wang Zai himself was willing. So, he looked at Chen Feng and hesitated for a moment. He felt that if he told Chen Feng now that he could handle things directly, those people could defeat them, but if they had a way to resolve these matters, they might be in danger. However, he needed to address these issues now, so he just looked at them again. He just looked at them again, then suddenly smiled at them. Although there were still many things they didn't understand, since they were already here, they needed to think about how to handle these situations and see how they would resolve them. He just looked at Chen Feng again, and seeing how anxious they seemed, he felt it was necessary to help Chen Feng. He smiled at Chen Feng, and just as Chen Feng was about to say something else, he spoke directly to Chen Feng. Don't be anxious about these things right now. I'm not likely to encounter any other danger. Those people do want to finish me off right now, but they need to consider whether they have the strength and whether I can fight now because of my injuries. Chen Feng looked at Wang Zai with a hint of helplessness, but this was the only option at the moment. He had also received a message from the system, meaning he had to ensure Lu Tai wasn't harmed and also eliminate that person. Since that's the case, he said, let's think about how to resolve these matters. Those people are here for their own reasons, but we need to determine how many of the ordinary people who came here willingly did so. We need to find out that now. He looked at them as he said this, knowing that this was indeed something they needed to determine, how many people had come here willingly, or had been tricked into it. This was something they needed to know at this time. So at this moment, he looked at the people here with a very serious expression. No matter what, He had to figure these things out. They looked at Chen Feng at the same time, feeling somewhat helpless. However, they decided to try to understand the situation as Chen Feng suggested. They thought about it, and then Lu Tai spoke to them. Judging from what you said about my friend being injured, if these people here were really used for cultivation, but only for cultivation, they should only be injured, like Li Su. So let's go find those people first. They should know these things very well, so they probably wouldn't want to come here. He looked at Chen Feng as he said this, and Chen Feng and the others thought so too. It was very likely that they could resolve these matters here. They hesitated for a moment, and then Chen Feng looked at them and spoke directly. Since that's the case, let's first try to find out what you said. If those people are unwilling to enter this place, then we can resolve these matters now and bring them here. Actually, we just need to think about some other things. Where are those people being held? Chen Feng sounded somewhat helpless as he said this. Lu Shi looked at Chen Feng at this moment, knowing exactly what Chen Feng was thinking. He wanted to help him, but it seemed he didn't understand the situation or how to resolve it. He could only look at Chen Feng again, hesitating because of these matters. However, considering their current situation, he thought it better to resolve it now and understand the situation. He then looked at them and explained. Since that's the case, let's find out about these things now. Perhaps I should have them take me out now, maybe they'll take me to that place. Then I'll think about how to tell you all this later. Lu Tai said this, looking at Chen Feng. But Chen Feng hesitated. He didn't want Lu Tai to go like this, and even if Lu Tai had those people take him out, they might not be willing to trust him. Lu Tai was someone who had been with him, they wouldn't immediately believe him. So Chen Feng looked at Lu Tai again. He could sense that Lu Tai genuinely wanted to help them and was genuinely happy about it. However, he had to resolve these matters first, other things could be dealt with later. He thought for a moment, and just as Lu Tai was about to say something to Du Chun, Chen Feng stopped him and then spoke to him. I understand you want to help me now, but you came here with me. They can't possibly believe you just because of what you said. So don't think about it now, they won't believe what you say at this moment. Chen Feng said this, looking at Lu Tai. Lu Tai was also well aware of the situation and just wanted to resolve things quickly. But hearing Chen Feng's words, he could only look at him helplessly. He also just wanted to help him. However, as Chen Feng said, they had come here together, and those people already knew their purpose, so they couldn't be trusted directly now. Thinking of this, he became even angrier and wanted to kill the guard who had revealed these things. Chapter 390 asking me to do something? If he hadn't revealed these things, Chen Feng wouldn't have been angry. But since he told them now, he wasn't willing to let this go. Thinking about it, he was genuinely angry. He was unsure how to resolve the situation and could only look at Chen Feng, waiting for Zhou Liachen to figure out how to handle it. He genuinely wanted to help, but he wasn't entirely clear on how those people were doing things. Chen Feng insisted they stick to the plan, as their sudden appearance would certainly arouse suspicion. They needed to ascertain the location of those different people. He had previously refused Lu Tai's request, as he couldn't allow Lu Shi to risk going there. Although it was Lu Shi's own choice, Chen Feng didn't want him to do it, it was too dangerous. He felt helpless, and Wang Zai spoke to Chen Feng again. Perhaps we don't need to learn about these things from those people right now. Although we can't be sure what they're up to, maybe we have other ways. It's just that this might not be the way we want to do right now. Are there other municipal committee members here? As he said this, he looked at Chen Feng. Ye Shen thought about it and realized there were indeed. Even when Wang Zai came here, several people brought him here. It certainly wasn't just the one who betrayed them. He thought about it for a moment, then looked at Lu Shi and Wang Zai. He hadn't expected them to encounter such danger here, nor had he intended for them to face danger with him. So Chen Feng was actually quite helpless. However, he didn't say anything else at this moment, but instead said to them, "Don't worry about these things right now. I'm sure I can think of a way to get you out of here. No matter what those people are thinking, I won't let you encounter danger here. I'm sure I have a way to stop them." He said this at that moment, while Chen Feng was actually thinking that if possible, he could fight alongside these people, or even just fight them directly. If he lost, he certainly wouldn't say anything more at this point. If he could defeat them, he felt it was very possible. System, can you tell me where those ordinary people are being held? If I can know this, I can fight them right now. Or can I ask you about this? Do you know exactly where they are being held? Chen Feng said this to the system, hoping to learn these things from it. After all, if the system could tell him, he wouldn't be so anxious about these matters and could think of ways to help the ordinary people who had been brought here. That was Chen Feng's current thought. However, the system remained silent upon hearing this, because it couldn't let Chen Feng do these things at this moment. Telling Chen Feng these things would be violating the system's requirements, and this matter was indeed very dangerous at this time. He felt somewhat helpless about these matters at this moment, so he didn't tell Chen Feng anything. Chen Feng's system hadn't spoken to him either, which made it clear that he couldn't tell him these things now. He felt somewhat helpless, but didn't say anything else. However, he still had some things he needed to understand. The best way he could deal with that person now, the one who might be able to resolve the situation, was that the person didn't know he also possessed a system. If he tried to use the system, Chen Feng could stop him. Moreover, that person's strength seemed weaker than his own, which explained his fear at the time. But it should only be slightly weaker, otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to sense his strength at that moment. At this point, Chen Feng himself felt somewhat helpless. Don't be anxious about these things. It's not like these problems are truly unsolvable. Let's think of another way. We can definitely deal with these people now, especially those who want to control ordinary people. We can definitely take them down now. Lu Shi also said this to Chen Feng at this time. Chen Feng smiled helplessly at him. Now that even the system was unwilling to tell him about this, what other way was there? Finally, thinking about how to solve these problems, he looked around again. He did feel helpless because of these things, but at this moment, someone suddenly approached their area. Chen Feng looked in that direction warily, trying to figure out who had come here. But when he saw it, he was a little surprised because it was someone he hadn't expected. I didn't expect you to come here at this time. When I let you in, I knew very well that you people were very strong. I just didn't expect that you came here. Now that I've been transferred here, I'm only just figuring out what these people are doing. Chen Feng could still recognize who this person was. This was the person who brought them here. It was the person who had benefited from Chen Feng and let them in at this time. He was quite surprised that this young man had come here, so Chen Feng first looked at him, wondering what this person wanted to do here. However, the man clearly noticed Chen Feng and his group's wariness. He simply smiled at Chen Feng, indicating he meant no harm, and then released what he was holding. Chen Feng then understood what the man wanted, to bring them some food. It seemed they didn't want these people to be killed here, so they were bringing them other things. Chen Feng glanced at the man again but didn't say anything more. Actually, he had nothing to say to him at this moment, he just wanted to observe. Bringing these things wouldn't offer any help. Chen Feng simply took the food without saying anything more. He remained wary of the guards, having already distrusted them after that man secretly told him their plans. Chapter 391 Unexpected Visit. Although the man didn't say anything else at this moment, Chen Feng was unwilling to believe that they were truly like that. So he simply looked at the group again without saying anything more. The man then smiled at Chen Feng and said, "You gave me a lot of benefits back then. I only came here to find out what these people were doing. It terrified me. I didn't expect them to be doing things that hurt others. So I didn't really think about how to resolve these matters." He looked at Chen Feng and smiled helplessly. He had felt somewhat scared when he arrived, but since he was already here, what other choice did he have? He could only resolve these matters first, or deal with these people now. He had no other options. So he simply looked around at Chen Feng again, feeling somewhat helpless at the man's current state. He was indeed very scared because of these events, but Chen Feng didn't say anything. After all, entering this place was his own choice to do these things. But the man also looked at Chen Feng, pondering how to resolve the situation. He recalled what his men had told him, that the man had come to this place before, the one who had come looking for Chen Feng. He recognized the guard who had come to see Chen Feng. However, he wondered why he had come to see Chen Feng. He hesitated for a moment, looking at them. He wasn't sure if Chen Feng would believe him. He did know the municipal committee member who had come to see Chen Feng, but that person wasn't a good person in their community, and few people seemed to like him. He looked at Chen Feng. However, he also felt that since Chen Feng and his group were already detained here, what was the point of thinking about this now? So, he hesitated, looking at them, but then continued speaking to Chen Feng. "Is there something you want to know? I heard from them that the man who came to see you before, the municipal committee member. What did he come here for?" Or did you believe him and do something else? When Chen Feng heard this, he looked at the group of people, clearly surprised by what they were saying. Since they had brought it up, he wanted to understand what was going on. He looked at them again and then spoke directly. We did see this person before. Why are you suddenly telling us this? Do you know that person? Why don't you tell us what kind of person they are? I think you know these things and would be willing to tell us, wouldn't you? Chen Feng looked at them as he spoke, genuinely wanting to understand. He hated being betrayed, especially since he had truly trusted that person. He was angry about this and wanted to know what had happened. The man, hearing this, looked at Chen Feng and smiled. Although he didn't understand why Chen Feng wanted to know about that person, he suspected Chen Feng had been mistreated. So he told Chen Feng what was going on. Actually, I don't know that person very well, but I'm someone who knows him. He did some other things before, and they trusted him a lot back then. It's just that he seems to have told others what they told him at this time. Chen Feng was stunned when he heard this. Just like he had told them before, he said he would help them at this time, and that he had secretly betrayed Chen Feng at this moment. Hearing this, he smiled because he felt helpless about these things, but he didn't say anything else. He then looked at the person who had suddenly come to him. Although he wasn't sure what his purpose was. Since the person dared to tell him these things, he must have learned something else. Chen Feng looked at him at this moment. He suspected that the person also had a system, but this was not something he could just think about and do at this time. He hesitated for a moment, and then looked in his direction again. He was indeed thinking about these things. But now, no matter what, he needed to solve these problems first. He looked in their direction. He had hesitated for a moment because of these things, but then he looked at them and they directly told him. Could you tell me now when that person arrived here, and what they did? Like, who did they deceive? Could you tell me these things? I'll definitely thank you for them. Chen Feng's gratitude wasn't just about saying thank you, he could give him many things he wanted. The person clearly understood Chen Feng's meaning, and smiled at him again, seemingly unconcerned. He looked at Chen Feng, knowing he was reluctant to believe him since the person had done these things. After hesitating for a moment, he finally spoke to Chen Feng. If you're referring to the municipal party committee matter, we don't know when he arrived here. He seemed to have done something else around that time, but we're not entirely sure what it was. He just suddenly appeared at this time, and we saw him then. As he said this, he noticed Chen Feng's reaction. Chen Feng was definitely surprised to hear about the man's sudden appearance, but at that moment, he also had some other suspicions. He looked at the man again, wondering what was going on. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 392 Head to Head. You mean that before he appeared here, none of you had seen him anywhere, and he just suddenly appeared at this time? Why are you willing to believe him now? If, as you say, he appeared suddenly, you shouldn't believe him so easily. And thinking about those people he mentioned who were deceived by that person, how could they believe someone who just appeared suddenly? The person seemed somewhat helpless as he said this, and smiled at Chen Feng, seemingly frustrated by the situation. Looking at Chen Feng, they genuinely wanted to understand these things, but there was really no way to resolve them. So they decided to tell Chen Feng, and then they spoke to him. This is something we all want to figure out right now. After he appeared here, everyone here seemed willing to believe anything he said. Because of this, many people have been harmed by him. He sounded somewhat helpless as he spoke, glancing at Chen Feng. Chen Feng finally understood why he had believed the man so readily, that he was just a random newcomer. How could he have trusted him so easily? Now it seemed that man might also possess his system. He thought for a moment, then looked at the man before him. He had indeed helped him in some ways, at least in letting him understand the situation. After suspecting the man also possessed a system, he became very wary. He hesitated for a while before speaking to the man again. I'm very grateful for what you've said. You've indeed helped me in this matter, but please don't tell anyone you came here to see me. Otherwise, I'm afraid you might also encounter danger. You should know very well what those people are capable of. As Chen Feng spoke, the man paused, then smiled at him. He seemed confident he could handle the situation, having only come to see Chen Feng by chance and wanting to clarify some matters. He was actually wondering if Chen Feng could resolve the issues. He knew that after being deceived by that man, Chen Feng might not believe him. He looked at Chen Feng again, thought for a moment, and then said, "Since that's the case, I'll leave this to you. I have nothing more to say. Just handle it. I won't tell anyone I came to see you. Don't worry about it, I don't want to be taken care of by those people." As he spoke, he glanced at Chen Feng again, then looked up at him. He realized that what Chen Feng had told him had indeed taught him a lot. If that person truly possessed a system, he could be more vigilant and at least avoid further danger. He simply glanced at them again and didn't say anything more. There were things he needed to understand at this time, so he didn't say anything more. He then walked over to Wang Zai and Lu Shi. Wang Zai and Lu Shi were still there. Wang Zai was still injured, while Lu Shi hadn't encountered any problems. He must have fainted earlier. Chen Feng wanted to know what Wang Zai had experienced when he lost his power. However, he didn't think this would make him happy at this moment. He looked at them again and thought about it, deciding to find out what was going on first, regardless of what else was happening. He glanced at them again, and Lu Shi felt that Chen Feng's gaze towards them seemed strange. He found it strange that he was staring at them at this moment. However, he thought it was likely because Wang Zai had glanced at him and noticed something different about him. He felt that Wang Zai was just like them, so why was Chen Feng staring at him? He looked at him again. Having also found these things strange before. He thought about it for a moment, but hesitated for a while. However, since they were here now, he decided to speak to him. "Why are you staring at him like this? Is there something different about Wang Zai? I think he's just like us. Why are you staring at him like this? Or do you have something you want to say? We're already here, so you can just say it." As he said this, he glanced at Chen Feng, genuinely finding it strange. Chen Feng smiled at him again. Then he looked at Wang Zai, who then spoke directly to Chen Feng. Just like he said, "You can just say what's on your mind right now. We've all come all this way together, so all we need to do is resolve the issues we're facing. There are still many people trapped here, and I think you should be even more eager to resolve these matters than we are." As he said this, he looked at Chen Feng. Ye Shen was probably the one among them who most wanted to resolve these matters at this moment. Then, Chen Feng smiled helplessly. Although he felt a little embarrassed to have Wang Zai tell him these things at this time, he still had to do it. So, he looked at him again. He needed to find out what Wang Zai's power had caused when he was taken away by that person. He didn't know anything about it yet. If he could tell him something, he could also resolve the matter at this moment. Then, he looked at Chen Feng and spoke directly to him. Chapter 393 Plot. There's something I want to know about that person right now. When they used you to cultivate, it must have been because your power was transferred to them. So, what happened to you when you lost those powers? You were only taken there after you woke up. You should know about these things, right? He looked at Wang Zai as he said this. Wang Zai was stunned. He hadn't expected Chen Feng to come to him to find out about this. He thought about it for a moment. He knew Chen Feng wanted to know these things because if he understood them, he could defeat that person. Since that was the case, he didn't hesitate. He considered what he could find out. Looking at Chen Feng, seeing how anxious he was about this, he was certain that Chen Feng wanted to know how to defeat that person. Since that's the case, there's nothing he can hide from him at this time. However, there are indeed some things he doesn't understand. He was taken there by those people after he regained consciousness, but then they seemed to do something else, and he fainted again at that time. However, he could still vaguely understand some things at that time. I can only tell you a few more things now, but I really think what those people did was very strange. They took me to that place after I woke up, but after I woke up and was taken there, they did something else, and then I fainted again. Chen Feng was stunned when he heard this. He thought that he could really tell him all these things, but since he had fainted, he must have known these things. He just looked at him again, feeling somewhat helpless because of these things, but he didn't say anything more at this time. However, Li knew very well that Chen Feng had to figure these things out, because if he figured them out, he could defeat those people at this time. So he was also thinking about what was going on. At this time, he looked at him again, and seemed a little hesitant because of these things. But it seemed that he suddenly understood something at this time, and looked at Chen Feng again. Of course, he knew that Chen Feng had to figure these things out, and that was why he needed to understand these things. But when he understood these things, he immediately looked at Li and told Chen Feng without any hesitation. They seem to have led me to a strange place. I can't quite put my finger on it. I sensed something large and ferocious there, but I couldn't figure out what it was, and I felt like I was injured somewhere. As he said this, looking at Chen Feng, Lu Shi felt somewhat helpless. They all knew he was injured, so telling them wouldn't be of much use. But just as he was about to say something, Chen Feng suddenly noticed something. He immediately saw Wang Zai again. Wang Zai's injury wasn't his current one, it was something else he knew, an injury he sustained when he lost his power. Chen Feng immediately looked at Wang Zai but didn't see any wound. It was because of this that Chen Feng understood what had happened and how that person had done these things. He looked at him. He had been to that place with his system before and learned about that cultivation method. While the cultivation method was somewhat mystical, it wasn't without basis. On the contrary, a closer look revealed its profound intricacies. Chen Feng felt somewhat pleased thinking about this. Thankfully, his system allowed him to learn about these things at this time. Otherwise, how would he resolve these issues? However, Chen Feng wasn't yet certain if things were truly as he suspected. He was still pondering these matters. When they told him about the large, ferocious beasts, Chen Feng had already had some ideas. Since the system had deliberately brought forth things that shouldn't be there, what else couldn't be done at this time? Therefore, Chen Feng felt somewhat helpless, but he also felt that his system didn't seem to have a solution for him at this moment, which made him somewhat unhappy. So, Chen Feng seemed somewhat unhappy about accepting this, but that wasn't actually the case, as he told his system. You said you don't have that ability anymore. They can get whatever they want at this time, but I can't. I don't know if it's because your system isn't as powerful as theirs right now. If I upgrade you, can you let me bring those things like they do? Chen Feng said this to his system, though he obviously didn't want these things. He was just mentioning it to the system, and the system knew exactly what he was thinking, but it didn't say anything else. The system also knew that Chen Feng didn't really want these things. If Chen Feng were really asked to hurt those people to become stronger, he would never do such a thing. The system understood this, so when Chen Feng said these words, the system said to him, even if you could really get these things, to hurt those people at this time, even if you became stronger, don't you consider whether you can do it? Don't you consider whether your own strength allows you to do these things at this time? Don't even think about it. Chen Feng didn't say anything else. He then went to Wang Zai's side and looked at her. He couldn't tell that she was injured. He thought about it and realized that he was willing to help her. So he spoke to the system. Chapter 394 A Secret Maneuver. I can't see what's wrong with Wang Zai. Can you tell me about this? I think you can tell me now. Tell me what happened first, and whether she was injured because of this. When the system heard Chen Feng's words, it hesitated for a moment. It felt that Chen Feng hadn't considered that he had previously suspected this person of possessing a system. So the system hesitated for a moment, but this matter was indeed threatening it. So the system continued to speak to Chen Feng. Didn't you think of something? You suspected he also possessed a system. We should clarify this first. If he really does possess a system, you are very likely to encounter danger. It's best not to take risks. It said this to Chen Feng, who hesitated upon hearing this. Indeed, this matter was not as he had thought, and it was not something he could solve by simply thinking about it. So he hesitated because of these things and looked at Wang Zai again. Wang Zai felt Chen Feng was watching him closely, which he found strange. He glanced at Chen Feng again, but since Chen Feng was their friend and had helped him a lot, he smiled at him. However, he found Chen Feng's smile odd. Although he was looking at him, Chen Feng seemed anxious about something. He only smiled when Chen Feng looked in his direction. He then looked at Chen Feng and spoke to him. Is there something you want to tell me now? If so, just say it. Why hesitate? We've already resolved so many things together. You can't be scared now because of this. Is there something you want to tell me? Chen Feng looked at him again, still hesitant. Although it was indeed as he suspected, he might be someone else with a system, he hadn't yet discovered that Lu Shi had done anything to harm anyone. He couldn't just watch him suffer. Chen Feng thought for a moment. He wasn't sure if Lu Shi had done anything to harm others, and he couldn't just watch him get hurt. So, after thinking it over, he spoke to his system. Tell me how to heal him now. I can't just watch him suffer. We can't be sure if he's done anything to harm others, or if he really has a system. Besides,
If I do those things, someone needs to watch Lu Shi. Chen Feng's system initially didn't want to tell him these things, but when Chen Feng mentioned Lu Tai, it hesitated. After all, this was a task for Chen Feng to complete while watching over Lu Tai, and Lu Tai could also help Chen Feng level up afterward. Upgrading the system would bring benefits to both Chen Feng and the system, which was why the system wanted Chen Feng to do this. Hearing Chen Feng's words made it hesitate, though only slightly. Although the task was simple, it still required caution. As Chen Feng said, Lu Tai hadn't done anything to harm anyone, and it knew very well that Chen Feng couldn't possibly harm him. Even if Chen Feng said more, he wouldn't be able to do it. Therefore, the system felt somewhat helpless, but that's precisely why it was sent to accompany Chen Feng on this mission. It was because Chen Feng didn't want to harm others, otherwise, Chen Feng might have been able to obtain that person's system, since that person's strength wasn't very high. The person who could use that system to do things that weren't allowed here wasn't particularly strong. That's why he was so afraid when he saw Chen Feng. He must have sensed that Chen Feng was much stronger than him. However, the reason Chen Feng's system was most reluctant to follow those people at this time was because those who possessed the system could normally increase their strength very quickly, but unfortunately, few of them were stronger than Chen Feng. So, he then told Chen Feng, I can tell you this now, but if that person tries to threaten you with those ordinary people to force you to hand over your power, you can't do it now. Because if your power becomes theirs now, it truly becomes their power. Chen Feng was stunned. He had previously thought that all his power was given to him by the system, so if the system wanted to make him stronger, it could definitely do it. That's why he hesitated for a moment before continuing. I feel that all my power was given to us by you at this time. It's because of your systems that we were able to obtain this power at this time, so why say these things now? Why be anxious about these things? Anyway, it's just like this. He looked at them as he said this. Chen Feng, who was already puzzled by these things, didn't say anything more. He just looked at the person again. He really found this matter very strange. On the contrary, the person smiled at Chen Feng. He also knew very well what Chen Feng was thinking. Chen Feng was looking at Yan Wangxi at this moment. Wang Zai knew that the god was probably anxious because those people had harmed ordinary people. Chen Feng, on the other hand, didn't think that way. He just wanted to understand these things. Why did the system bring this up at this time? He thought that their power was given to them by the system at this time. Chapter 395. This is too much? If it weren't for the power the system gave them, they could never be as strong as they are now. Looking at Chen Feng, the system seemed genuinely puzzled by these events. The system, however, clearly understood Chen Feng's thoughts and spoke to him. The person you just met has had this system longer than you, but did you sense that his strength wasn't as great as yours? Although you haven't done anything to harm others like they have, your strength is far greater than theirs. I think you should have realized this by now. Chen Feng had already sensed this, but found it strange. Now, he understood the situation and hesitated, unsure if the system's assessment was accurate, as he hadn't fully grasped the implications. However, he was with the system and it wouldn't lie to him about this. Chen Feng also understood why that person had wanted his power, but now he was thinking about other things as well. If that person already wanted his power, did that mean he had already realized that he also possessed a system? Thinking this, Chen Feng's expression immediately turned serious. He hesitated for a moment, but then immediately spoke to the system. So, if he wanted my power back then, did that mean he had already realized that I also possessed a system, and that's why he wanted my power? Or did he already learn these things from his system? When Chen Feng's system heard this, it didn't say anything at this moment. It understood why Chen Feng was anxious about these things, but this time it wasn't for the reasons Chen Feng expected. It understood Chen Feng's current thoughts even better. So it just thought about it again. Since Chen Feng was anxious about these things, it didn't mind clarifying things with him now. Anyway, it wasn't what Chen Feng thought, and it wouldn't threaten Chen Feng at this time. It just looked at him again, thinking about what Chen Feng was saying. It understood why Chen Feng was anxious about this matter. After all, these things had happened, and this person's system was indeed quite powerful. It clarified things with him now, so that Chen Feng wouldn't be anxious anymore. It also told Chen Feng at this time, besides those who can know these things at this time, I can tell you directly at this time that there are many people with systems here, but no one except you knows anything about them. There are other people with systems who exist, but only they themselves know. Chen Feng was stunned when he heard this, but it was precisely because of this that he realized his system might hold a relatively high position at this moment. This was also why no one else could figure out these things. Chen Feng hesitated, unsure if it was truly as he thought. He wasn't sure if, as he suspected, his system held a relatively high position, which was why he could understand these things. Otherwise, why hadn't everyone else with his system noticed this, while his system had? He found this strange, but didn't say anything more at this moment. Wang Zai and Lu Tai also felt something was off. They could sense that Chen Feng seemed to be thinking about something, but they didn't bring it up. He too felt something was strange at this moment, and after thinking about it, he still wanted to figure things out. So, he didn't say anything more, just looked in that direction again, and didn't say anything more. He looked at Wang Zai now, needing to figure out what had happened. He needed to understand how he had been attacked and what those people had done. He wanted to tell Wang Zai these things, but just then, someone else approached. Chen Feng immediately looked in that direction and saw the person who had come looking for him earlier, the one who had let them in. He found it strange. What did this person want? Chen Feng moved closer to him, looking at him with some confusion, but still spoke to him first. Why did you suddenly come this way at this time? Or is there something you want to tell me now? I already told you not to come near us, otherwise those people might hurt you. You shouldn't come any closer. We can talk about it later. Chen Feng was indeed quite anxious about these matters. This person had indeed helped them in some ways, and he didn't want him to encounter such danger at this time. So he said this to him. When the other person heard this, he looked at Chen Feng again, hesitant because of these matters. However, he had heard from some people that Chen Feng had entered this place before and fought with some of them, and he hadn't encountered any danger yet. Perhaps Lu Xun could help them at this time, so he spoke to you, Chen. I have some things I want to clarify with you at this time. Although I'm not entirely sure about this matter yet, could you please let me tell you about some people who were brought here? They don't have the strength of you. When Chen Feng heard this, he was stunned. Did he want to say something else at this time? Perhaps it was something else, or perhaps ordinary people were also in danger at this time. But because of the previous person's deception, he couldn't believe him directly, so Chen Feng told him. Chapter 396 Action Plan. So, you've come to me this time to say something, or are those people really in danger? If so, why did you come all the way here to find me? I can't possibly solve these problems right now. Fu Chen Feng looked at him helplessly as he spoke. The man understood Chen Feng's feelings. Perhaps because of the deception during the previous demonstration, he was unwilling to help them now. However, he wasn't angry about this, knowing he would react the same way if he were in Ru Chun's situation. He glanced at Chen Feng, also looking somewhat helpless, and then handed him something. Chen Feng took it curiously and was surprised to find it was a map of the area. The man then explained, "This is what I've learned in these places. I can only tell you this much for now. I have nothing else to say. But this can help you and prevent the people here from being harmed. They won't have to face these things again." He told Chen Feng this at this moment, actually feeling helpless because of these things. He didn't want anyone to be in danger, so this was the only way he could help them. After telling Chen Feng these things, he prepared to go in another direction. But Chen Feng hesitated. If he told them these things now, those people wouldn't let him go. They simply wouldn't let him go. He might encounter even more danger. So he thought about Chen Feng and then said, "Wait a moment. I have something to tell you. If you go directly now, they might just take care of you. If anyone finds out you gave me the map, they won't let you go. Wait for me." The other person was a little confused. Watching Chen Feng tell these things, he clearly knew he might encounter danger, but what use would it be if Chen Feng told him these things? It couldn't really solve everything here. It's impossible to solve everything at this moment. If he could help so many people here when he's in danger, then he thinks it might be possible. He just glanced at Chen Feng again but didn't say anything else. However, Chen Feng didn't hesitate and spoke to the system at this moment. "As long as you give me something at this moment, I need to be able to act as a teleporter. Since this person has helped us with these things, I must help him at this moment. I can't let him really encounter these dangers at this moment. You should know very well what someone with that kind of system can do at this time." The system was also hesitating because of these things. Because Chen Feng was carrying out this mission, it couldn't solve everything for him. But while the system was hesitating, it also sent him a mission. He was a little surprised when he saw it, But when he saw the mission, he was still very happy because it required Chen Feng to help this person who came here to tell them this matter. He thought Chen Feng should also be very happy about these things, so he just smiled and didn't say anything else. But then, he prepared some things for Chen Feng. He knew very well that Shen would definitely be very happy this time. Chen Feng had previously felt somewhat displeased with the things their system had done, but now things might be different. If Ruo Chen knew the system was willing to help him in this way, he would definitely be happy for it. Of course, the system didn't say these things directly at this moment. After preparing everything, it handed it over to Chen Feng. The person who remained there was actually a little scared. He hadn't expected to be willing to do these things for them at this time, but he thought about what those people he had encountered when he entered this place, and many of those who had been harmed. He had let them in, and he had nothing else to do to help them at this time except to reduce their dangers. He felt that this was the best he could do for them. He looked at Chen Feng and said, "Otherwise, I'll come back to you later. Those people might come here at any time. This matter is indeed too dangerous. You can tell me if anything happens later. There's no need to tell me now, and don't be anxious." He assumed Chen Feng wanted to know more about the situation here, so he planned to go over there himself. If he didn't appear soon, it might arouse suspicion. But Chen Feng looked at him seriously. "Just wait here. I'll give you something later. I have something to give you. Don't worry, they shouldn't be coming here now, and nobody here would want to approach this place. Don't be anxious." Chen Feng understood these things perfectly well, which is why he looked at them and explained everything clearly. He really wanted to understand these matters, so he spoke directly to them, leaving them somewhat helpless. The man who had come here also looked at Chen Feng. He didn't know what Chen Feng was planning to do next, but if Chen Feng wanted to eliminate him, he could do it directly without explaining. So he simply looked at Chen Feng and remained where he was. Chapter 397 The incident occurs. He stayed there without saying anything more. If Chen Feng really wanted to resolve the issue, he had no other choice. He had already helped Chen Feng a lot, so he simply stayed there without saying anything more. Meanwhile, Chen Feng was preparing some things. Chen Feng had prepared everything by this time, without saying much. He simply smiled when they appeared. He was somewhat surprised to receive the system's item, so he told it, "I thought no matter what I said, you wouldn't help me this time. It seems you understand what needs to be done. Anyway, thank you for your help. I didn't want this person to be in danger." The system seemed helpless, but still told him the story. Chen Feng was surprised to hear that the system wasn't willing to help him. However, after receiving the item, he quickly created a teleportation array and went to the person. The person was already getting impatient. If they stayed, they might be in danger. Seeing Chen Feng, the person wanted to say something. "I need to record the transaction and give it to you. There's a teleportation technique here that can only help you at this moment. I didn't mean anything else at this time, but if you encounter danger, it can bring you to my side, and then no one can harm you." The man was somewhat surprised to hear this. He hadn't expected Chen Feng to be willing to help him in this way. He had assumed Chen Feng must already dislike him, but Chen Feng simply smiled at him. He didn't mean anything by it, he just wanted to help. So, he looked at Chen Feng again, now hesitant because of these things. But after speaking to the system and receiving the necessary items, he had no reason to hesitate. Besides, he had originally intended to help this person. He knew exactly what he was thinking. Because he had placed some people in this place, causing them to encounter danger, he now understood that his actions had harmed them. But Chen Feng only smiled and couldn't say anything at this moment. "You don't need to gather these things at this time. Anyway, you did help them this time, whether you really wanted to do it or not. You've already helped them, so what are you hesitating for? Anyway, there are still many things I need you to do for me." After hearing Chen Feng's words, he looked at him again, then said something else, and then went in another direction. Chen Feng still wanted to help this person at this time, so he didn't want him to be hurt by those people at this time because he was giving them the map. What wouldn't these people do? Thinking of this, Chen Feng felt a little helpless. He had to resolve these matters at this time, especially those who used them for cultivation. He couldn't let them go at this time. Although Chen Feng felt somewhat helpless about these matters, he didn't say anything more at this moment. Instead, he moved in another direction. However, there were still many things to resolve and many things to clarify. Therefore, he didn't say anything more. In short, He needed to understand this matter first, as well as the motives of those people. He had to find out these things at this time, and he definitely needed to know them. However, he still didn't know where those ordinary people had been taken. After handing the items to that person, Chen Feng let him leave, because he also wanted to help him. After all, he had indeed told him some things, whether they were true or not, and if he hadn't told him anything else. Chen Feng hadn't told him anything else. But at this moment, he also thought of what he had told him. He had secretly come to this place and risked his life to tell those people that they wanted to transfer those people out of the country. This was something Chen Feng had to stop. What exactly did he say to you just now? It seems your expression suddenly became very serious after he said those things. Did he say something else? If there's anything we can help you with, you should tell us now, no matter what. Chen Feng had to stop them now. Those ordinary people couldn't be taken out at this time, it was too dangerous. Chen Feng hesitated for a moment, then looked at Wang Zai and the others. They were also quite anxious, but Chen Feng smiled at them. He wasn't anxious because of these things, but he needed to understand some things. I do have some things I need to explain to you now. I'm not sure if you're willing to listen, but you must listen to me. Those people are preparing to move those ordinary people out, so we must stop them now. When Chen Feng said this, he looked at them and said it. After hearing what Chen Feng said, Lu Shi and Wang Zai both became serious because of this matter. After all, this was about transferring these ordinary people out, which they considered somewhat dangerous. Chapter 398, A Backup Plan. In that case, how are we supposed to resolve these issues right now? We have no idea where those ordinary people are. If they insist on doing this now, we have no other way to stop them. Do you have any other ideas? They looked at Chen Feng, hoping he could find a solution. Chen Feng, feeling helpless, looked at them again but didn't say much. He simply thought for a moment and then spoke to them. I don't have anything to say right now, but you didn't listen to me. Listen to what I need to tell you now, and what those people are trying to do. I have a general idea of what they're planning. Chen Feng said this while looking at them. He understood what those people wanted to do. They just wanted to blackmail him. They wanted to move those ordinary people away so they could use them to threaten him. Chen Feng was well aware of this matter, but he didn't say anything at this moment. He knew exactly why these people wanted to do these things, so he didn't say anything else. He just looked at them again, and then at Wang Zai and Lu Shi. He actually wanted to say something at this moment. He definitely needed to find those people at this time, but he wanted Wang Zai and Lu Shi to stay here. That was Chen Feng's idea. Thinking this, he looked at them and spoke directly. I have some things to tell you at this moment, but don't be angry about these things. I want you to stay here for now because these things are too dangerous. I don't want your people here to be in danger again. So you should stay here. Chen Feng said this to them because if they stayed here, he could set up some things for them and put some things to protect them from harm. But just as Chen Feng was thinking this, the system suddenly remembered Yi Shen, and was stunned, not understanding what was going on. Because Chen Feng hadn't heard the system say this before, and the system hadn't given him any hints earlier, he felt it couldn't possibly help him here. He was surprised to hear this now. What's going on? Didn't I say you couldn't help me right now? So if you have something to say, just tell me directly. Or is there something else you need to tell me now? Just tell me clearly so I can deal with it. Chen Feng said this directly to the system. He was also puzzled by what the system hadn't told him yet. The system, upon hearing Chen Feng's words, didn't hesitate. It understood Yi Shen's thoughts perfectly. It was only after hearing Chen Feng's suggestion to leave Wang Zai and Lu Shi here that it told him these things, because it didn't want Chen Feng to do that, and leaving them here would definitely put them in danger. This place was, after all, that person's cultivation base. He knew exactly what was inside. Even if it existed within him, he could only fight them while he was here. Moreover, because that person's system could resolve certain matters at this time, these actions were necessary. Only Chen Feng, whose system was more powerful and whose strength surpassed that person's, could have his place kept from that person's control. Otherwise, this place would have been under that person's control all along. He hadn't told Chen Feng these things before. But now that Chen Feng had brought it up, he only needed to explain things to them. There was nothing else to learn at this time. He just needed to clarify these matters. Looking at Chen Feng, they reflected on their current predicament and felt a headache coming on, unsure of what to do. There were still many things to resolve,
and many things to do. But what he needed to do now was explain these things to Chen Feng. That person's system indeed had many uses that Chen Feng had never understood before. I'll explain everything to you now. This system has some powerful aspects that I haven't told you about before, but I have to make it clear now. Because of that person's system, everything here is under his control. Chen Feng was stunned when he heard this. He wasn't aware of this, nor had he felt anything amiss, but a thought suddenly occurred to him. Was it because of him that this place wasn't under that new person's control? The system overheard Chen Feng's words. Because you're here, because you also possess the system, he can't control the things around you right now. But if you leave, and Lu Tai stays here, they will be under his control right now and will have to go directly to him. Hearing this, Chen Feng felt helpless. It seemed that leaving Lu Shi and the others here was essentially giving him someone to threaten him. Chen Feng was extremely frustrated, but he had to resolve this matter and deal with that person. Because of what he had done, Chen Feng had to eliminate him now, no matter what. He wasn't willing to let this person off so easily. After all, he couldn't let him get away with it. He thought for a moment and then looked at Wang Zai and Lu Shi. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 399 Everything Happens for a Reason. Just as Chen Feng was trying to figure out how to explain things to them, how to tell them that they still needed to fight alongside him, they suddenly appeared before him. They seemed angry about what had happened and looked at Chen Feng, saying, "What do you mean by this? Are you telling us to put ourselves in danger here? We're not the kind of people who would do such a thing. Don't say anything else. We can't do what you say. No matter what, we won't do these things." Their words actually pleased Chen Feng somewhat. This way, he wouldn't have to explain why they needed to fight alongside him. He knew they weren't afraid, but he felt there was no need to put them in such danger. However, if they did, many of them would be under control, and he felt helpless about this situation. Chen Feng's system understood his thoughts and didn't say anything else. That was all it could say to Chen Feng, despite its many concerns. But for now, that was all it could say. He couldn't help but sigh. He had originally told Chen Feng that he should be punished for these things at this point, but if Chen Feng was dealt with here, his system would face even greater danger because of Yushin. That person's system is different from ours. He has something else that allows him to obtain powers that shouldn't belong here. But if you can defeat him now, the system can upgrade, and your power will increase significantly. Upon hearing this, Yu Chen hesitated for a moment. He didn't know what his system was trying to do at this time, but since everyone else had already mentioned it, he was also hesitant. These things made him very happy. He just looked at them again. They didn't say anything more. There were things he needed to resolve right now, and he didn't need to rush. He just smiled at them, not saying anything more. There were many things that made him anxious at this moment, and since the system had already told Chen Feng this much, it didn't mind saying anything else, so it continued. There's something else I need to tell you right now. Only you truly know the situation here. There are other people with systems here, but I'm not entirely sure if others are aware of these things. After all, I can't control the thoughts of other system-wielding individuals at this point. The system told Chen Feng this, and Chen Feng hesitated for a moment upon hearing it. However, he was still quite pleased about it. Since he had already encountered these issues, he just needed to figure out how to resolve them. He figured the other system-wielding individuals couldn't possibly do such a thing. He felt that only that one person could exploit others' cultivation. Thinking about this, Chen Feng felt somewhat angry. He just hadn't said anything at this moment, but he was still very angry about it. So he didn't say anything else, just looked in another direction. In short, he had to handle these matters himself. He looked at them again, but how should he proceed? Thinking about this, Chen Feng looked at Wang Zai and Lu Shi. They were here now, and of course he didn't want them to be in danger. But if you were to do that, Chen Feng needed to think about many things. He glanced in their direction. There were still many things he needed to resolve right now. He had to deal with them immediately. Chen Feng also knew that they might take those ordinary people elsewhere next, and he had to handle those matters. Now that he understood these things, he felt even more helpless. No matter what, he had to resolve these matters now, and he couldn't let Lu Shi and the others be in danger.
He felt somewhat helpless, but this matter had to be resolved now. He looked in their direction. In short, he had to resolve this matter now, no matter how dangerous it was. He thought about it with some helplessness. I suddenly have something to tell you now, something I just realized. Please don't mind it. I only just realized this when I entered that place, and it seems to be related to the person who came to find you earlier. When Chen Feng heard this, he was initially stunned. He was indeed unsure about the matter, but since Chen Feng had brought it up, he wanted to understand it better, especially who was behind it. So, he smiled at Wang Zai and began to speak. Since you've already learned about these things, tell me. There are many things I'm not entirely sure about right now. If you can tell me, I can see how we should handle these matters, especially those involving those people, and what they're trying to do, Du Chun said to Wang Zai. It was best if Wang Zai could share something with him at this time. Of course, if he had nothing to say, he wouldn't be angry. The important thing was to find a way to resolve these issues. He just looked at Du Chun for a moment. Wang Zai, upon hearing Chen Feng's words, smiled. He knew Chen Feng was eager to understand, so after a moment's hesitation, he spoke to him. Chapter 400 Thunder. I'm not entirely sure about this, but when I entered that place, I found that there seemed to be nothing there to give any indication of the surroundings. It was very dark, as if no one needed anything there. Chen Feng thought about this when he heard this, because Wang Zai had mentioned earlier that there were sounds of wild animals in that place, suggesting something else was there. He pondered this. Perhaps those with systems couldn't be considered human, or there was some other reason. Chen Feng thought about these things, but he felt that those who possessed systems should be human. Then, his system suddenly spoke to him. Have you considered some things? Among those cultivators, among those with systems, could some, after cultivating something, use these methods to cultivate, which shouldn't be done at this time, but doing so might lead to some problems. His system's sudden words caught Chen Feng off guard. He knew the situation was extremely dangerous, otherwise, his system wouldn't have spoken to him like this at this moment. Chen Feng, seemingly unafraid of punishment, felt somewhat helpless. But precisely because of this, he understood he had to resolve the matter immediately, no matter how dangerous it was. Otherwise, they might encounter even greater peril. He glanced in their direction at that moment. Look at him this time. There are still many things we don't understand about those people, and what they really want to do. We need to find out right now. Don't worry about these things, we can still resolve them after we figure it out. He looked at him and smiled, saying that Chen Feng was also thinking about some things. If what the system said was true, and the place was really dark, it seemed like those kinds of things would go there, but that person did find him at this time. Chen Feng was certain that it wasn't the real person who was here. Since that was the case, and the system had told him these things, he thought about it and could confirm these things. Even if the person who came to find him wasn't the real him, he wasn't that person either. I'm thinking about some things now. The person who came here to find us might not be the real owner of this place, but someone else. As for that person, he was just listening to that person do something, which is why he appeared here. Do you think it's possible that it's like this? As he spoke, he looked at himself, then at Wang Zai and Lu Shi, wanting to confirm these things with him. Wang Zai and Lu Shi, hearing Chen Feng's words, felt something was amiss. They dared not speculate about Chen Feng's actions at this moment, but they felt it was possible what he said was true. They believed Sun Wuchen's assessment was indeed plausible, otherwise, they weren't sure why those people would act this way, why someone who was certain Chen Feng was stronger would dare to seek him out. They looked at Chen Feng again. They didn't possess such strength, so they could only listen to him. Chen Feng, however, also seemed somewhat doubtful. He wasn't sure, but he felt it was possible, and felt quite helpless about the situation. He initially thought that person was indeed very powerful, which was why they were doing this at this time. He hadn't expected there to be other people in the area. He even needed to find a way to deal with them now. He felt helpless because of this situation, but he still had to find a solution. He had to think of a way to resolve things at this moment. He felt helpless because of this situation, but he also needed to think about these things. Just as he was thinking this, someone else suddenly approached them. He looked over and saw someone he had never seen before. It must have just happened to come from this direction, not someone else. Don't be anxious right now. Of course, I understand you're being wary of them, but you don't need to be like this. Even if they wanted to attack, they wouldn't dare to actually approach here, that's what they told Chen Feng. But Chen Feng didn't think so. He felt that since those people dared to come here, they must have something to find out. They just looked over there, but Chen Feng also had some things he needed to confirm, which he didn't tell them at this moment. Next, we need to understand some things, and I must make this clear to you now. What we're doing might be more dangerous than we think, because we might not even know the true strength of those people, Chen Feng said, looking at them. He felt helpless about this situation. Of course, he wanted those people to be weak, so they could easily defeat them. But it seemed things weren't as he expected. Those people might be much stronger than they thought. The system wanted to tell Chen Feng something, because it actually knew these things very well, but it couldn't tell him now, otherwise both it and Chen Feng would be in danger. So, although the system wanted to tell him, it couldn't say anything else at this moment. Actually, the system felt that if Chen Feng thought about it some more, he could figure things out. Although that person did those things back then, it was actually due to his cultivation, and the beast-like thing they encountered was originally with that person. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.